There are more high-tech changes coming to fast food chains. Some Wendy's now using AI to take your drive-through orders.
Wendy's has announced it's shutting down 140 locations this year. Most of them are underperforming or outdated locations.
If you think Wendy's is the healthier fast food choice, think again. Behind that smiling mascot and catchy slogans lies a reality most customers never hear about. Because what if that fresh, never frozen beef came with a hidden cost? One involving lawsuits, unsafe kitchens, and some shocking factory practices. That burger might look clean, but what's happening behind the scenes could make you think twice. Keep watching, because what you're about to discover about Wendy's could change how you see the entire fast food industry. Wendy's has built its entire brand on a single promise: fresh, never frozen beef. It's catchy, it sounds wholesome, and it instantly positions them as a step above the competition. But here's the thing, that phrase doesn't mean what you think it means. Because while the burgers might not arrive frozen, that doesn't mean they're handled with care, and it definitely doesn't mean they're clean. In fact, Wendy's has faced repeated criticism over its beef supply chain, particularly in the southern and midwestern regions of the US, where some of their suppliers have been linked to factory farms known for unsanitary practices and animal mistreatment. We're talking overcrowded feedlots, antibiotic-laced feed, and questionable processing conditions. One former worker described the meat as sweating in plastic bins during transit, kept technically fresh but far from appetizing. And here's something else they don't advertise. Never frozen only applies to US locations. Wendy's stores in Canada, Latin America, and parts of Asia do use frozen beef, but you'll never hear that in a global ad campaign. Even in the States, their chicken, bacon, and breakfast sausage arrive frozen, processed, and packaged long before they hit the grill. So if fresh only applies to one part of the menu, is it still honest branding or just a clever misdirection? Wendy's knows the phrase "never frozen" triggers trust, but that trust has become a shield, one that protects the company from deeper scrutiny. And as you'll soon see, it's not just the beef that's been hiding secrets, because what really happens behind the counter might be even more shocking than the supply chain itself. Step behind the counter at any Wendy's and you'll find more than just sizzling grills and bubbling fryers. You'll find a work culture that some employees describe as chaotic, exhausting, and sometimes dangerous. While the smiling cashier at the front might hand you your combo with a thank you, the truth behind that kitchen door paints a very different picture. In dozens of online forums and interviews, current and former Wendy's workers have shared disturbing stories. Scalding oil burns from rushed fryer shifts, raw meat handled without gloves, cross-contamination between chicken and beef, and intense pressure to shave seconds off ticket times, no matter what corners get cut. One ex-employee from Texas claimed they were told to reuse old burger patties if they looked okay enough. Another described food left out on prep counters for hours because the manager didn't want to waste product. And then there's the cleaning process, or lack thereof. Fryer oil reportedly gets reused well beyond recommended safety limits, leading to dark, bitter-tasting food and, worse, potential health risks. Refrigerators have been found malfunctioning, with meat stored at dangerously warm temperatures. But when employees raise concerns, they're often ignored, or worse, told to keep quiet. The company officially states that all staff are trained to follow strict food safety protocols. But what happens when stores are understaffed, underpaid, and overwhelmed? Those rules go out the window, and when corporate turns a blind eye to complaints, the problem doesn't go away, it spreads. So while you're biting into that crispy chicken sandwich, remember, it might have been prepared in a kitchen where shortcuts aren't just common, they're expected. But food safety is only one layer. Up next, we'll uncover the hidden dangers that have led to real lawsuits and real victims. Most people assume that fast food giants like Wendy's follow strict health codes. After all, how risky can a burger be? But the truth is, Wendy's has quietly dealt with food safety scares that never made the headlines. While competitors like Chipotle or McDonald's have faced public outcries, Wendy's problems have often stayed under the radar. That doesn't mean they're any less real. In 2006, a woman from Utah was hospitalized after eating a Wendy's chili that, according to her medical report, contained traces of foreign material, later suspected to be plastic. Her case was settled quietly out of court. A few years later in Georgia, a child reportedly suffered severe stomach pain after consuming undercooked chicken nuggets, which were found to still be pink inside. The health department launched a review, but Wendy's corporate response was minimal: a generic apology and a promise to investigate. No public recall followed. Then there's the now infamous 2015 video from a Wendy's in Michigan, where a customer captured a rat running across the drink station. Yes, on camera. That location was shut down temporarily, but corporate never made a formal statement. And while isolated incidents happen in any food chain, the frequency of similar complaints, mold in ice machines, spoiled lettuce, slimy sandwich meat, suggests a pattern, not just bad luck. Former employees have even claimed that managers sometimes manipulate expiration labels, changing use-by stickers to extend the shelf life of sauces and prepped veggies. That may not sound like a big deal until you realize how fast bacteria grows in unrefrigerated mayo or pre-cut tomatoes. The scariest part, most customers will never know the difference. But these hidden health risks are just one piece of the puzzle, because next we're diving into the very meat Wendy's builds its brand on, and the disturbing truths behind what's really in your burger. Wendy's has proudly staked its reputation on one thing: beef that's fresh, never frozen. But what they don't advertise is how that beef and their chicken gets to your tray, because while the patties might not arrive in a frozen block, the journey from slaughterhouse to sandwich is packed with disturbing truths. Start with the beef. Investigations into some of Wendy's US suppliers have revealed ties to industrial-scale feedlots where cattle are confined in overcrowded pens, pumped with growth hormones, and fed a corn-based diet laced with antibiotics. These aren't scenic pastures, they're tightly packed operations where waste runoff contaminates local water supplies and animal stress leads to health issues long before slaughter. And that slaughterhouse? It's not always the clean facility people imagine. In fact, one of Wendy's former suppliers was cited for multiple USDA violations, including contamination of carcasses, improper sanitation, and dangerous working conditions. In one leaked internal memo, a quality assurance manager admitted that some shipments of beef were questionable, but allowed through to avoid delays. Now let's talk about the chicken. Wendy's spicy nuggets and sandwiches might be fan favorites, but they come from a supply chain deeply rooted in factory farming. Chickens are often bred to grow so quickly that their legs can't support their own weight. Former plant workers have described scenes of broken wings, crowded crates, and conveyor belts moving too fast for proper inspections. Some even say bruised meat is simply trimmed and repackaged instead of discarded. And the taste. Wendy's uses flavor-enhancing injections, saline, sodium phosphates, and artificial spices to give their meat that juicy bite even when it's been sitting under heat lamps for hours. You're not tasting quality, you're tasting chemistry. So the next time you bite into that so-called fresh burger or crunchy chicken sandwich, ask yourself, is it really premium or just carefully packaged? Because what Wendy's hides in their meats is just the beginning. Up next, we look at how their feel-good advertising distracts you from every disturbing bite. Wendy's doesn't just sell food, it sells personality. From their cheeky Twitter roasts to commercials poking fun at their competitors, Wendy's has built one of the most recognizable voices in fast food. To the average customer, it feels clever, edgy, even refreshing. But behind that carefully curated sass lies a marketing machine designed to manipulate, distract, and reframe a deeply flawed reality. Let's start with their social media strategy. By turning the Wendy's mascot into a digital comedian, firing off viral one-liners, mocking frozen burger jokes, they created the illusion of transparency. When you're laughing with a brand, you're less likely to question it. And Wendy's knows this. Their online tone is designed to seem relatable and human. A clever mask for a corporation that's made billions while quietly dodging scandals behind the scenes. Their television ads are no different. Families smiling, workers whistling while flipping burgers. Every commercial emphasizes freshness, friendliness, and family values, without ever showing the factories, the legal battles, or the worker burnout. It's no accident. Wendy's advertising intentionally builds emotional association. Eat here, and you're smart, funny, and maybe even a little rebellious. But this feel-good branding becomes dangerous when it starts to erase accountability. While customers laugh at clever tweets, real employees are burning their hands on faulty fryers. While commercials gush about wholesome ingredients, some locations are allegedly cutting food safety corners to meet speed quotas. The gap between image and reality is growing wider by the year, and most people have no idea. And just when you think it's all harmless fun, you find out Wendy's isn't just manipulating perception. They've also been caught in the middle of serious legal scandals, and the ones that did make headlines, they're just the tip of the iceberg. That's exactly what we'll explore next. While Wendy's jokes online and sells nostalgia in its ads, a very different story has been playing out in courtrooms and corporate backrooms. Over the past 2 decades, Wendy's has faced a string of lawsuits that expose a much uglier side of the company, one involving workplace abuse, discrimination, wage theft, and more. In 2015, a class action lawsuit alleged that multiple Wendy's franchisees across the US were violating labor laws by denying employees overtime pay, forcing them to work off the clock, and threatening retaliation if they spoke up. Some workers were reportedly earning below minimum wage once unpaid hours were factored in, and yet despite mounting evidence, Wendy's quietly settled many of these cases, avoiding widespread media attention. But labor violations weren't the only scandals. In 2018, a Florida Wendy's location was hit with a sexual harassment lawsuit after multiple female employees reported being groped, threatened, and verbally abused by their supervisor. According to court documents, management failed to take action, and some women were forced to quit just to feel safe again. The case was eventually settled out of court, but the damage was done. And then there's the racial discrimination claims. In several documented instances, black employees accused managers of assigning them the most difficult shifts, blocking promotions, or using racist language in the workplace. One case in Ohio even included security footage supporting the claims, yet Wendy's corporate response was limited to a short statement about diversity training. What makes all of this worse is how little the public hears about it. Wendy's has mastered the art of containment, quiet settlements, vague press releases, and an ad strategy so upbeat it drowns out dissent. But while the lawsuits may fade from the headlines, the consequences are real for workers, for communities, and for anyone who still thinks of Wendy's as just harmless fast food. And if you thought the main menu was worrying, just wait until you hear what's really hiding in the sides and sauces. It's easy to focus on the burger or the chicken, but some of the most concerning ingredients at Wendy's are hiding in plain sight, in the fries, the chili, and those tiny cups of sauce we dip into without a second thought. Because while the menu might promise bold flavor and real ingredients, the reality is much more processed than most customers realize. Let's start with the fries. Golden, crispy, and served piping hot, but that satisfying crunch comes from more than just potatoes. Wendy's fries are coated in a chemical additive called dimethylpolysiloxane, an anti-foaming agent also used in industrial lubricants. Add to that sodium acid pyrophosphate, which prevents discoloration, and you've got a fry that stays pretty for the camera but comes with a side of synthetic science. And what about their famous chili? It's marketed as hearty and homemade, but former employees have revealed that it's often made from leftover burger patties, sometimes overcooked or dried out, chopped up and simmered in a vat of pre-made sauce. While technically safe, the idea of repurposed meat simmering all day in bulk containers raises questions about freshness and consistency. Then there's the sauces. Whether it's the creamy sriracha or the signature ghost pepper ranch, the flavor often comes from a cocktail of preservatives, artificial thickeners, and flavor enhancers. One nutritionist review found propylene glycol, yes, the same ingredient used in antifreeze, in some of Wendy's dipping sauces, approved in small amounts but still alarming for something we casually smear on chicken nuggets. The truth is, these extras aren't just sides, they're calculated distractions, bright flavors, creamy textures, and spicy heat designed to overwhelm your senses and keep you from noticing the lack of real whole food beneath. But if the sauces are meant to mask what's missing, it begs the question, why are so many people still eating here? That answer lies deeper than ingredients. It's rooted in psychology, economy, and survival, and that's what we're breaking down next. With so many scandals, shortcuts, and questionable ingredients, you might be wondering, why is Wendy's still so popular? The answer isn't as simple as taste. For many people, Wendy's isn't just a meal, it's survival, it's routine, it's comfort in a world that's constantly out of reach. Start with affordability. In communities where food prices keep rising and grocery stores are miles away, Wendy's becomes one of the few places where $5 still buys something warm and filling. When you're working 2 jobs and raising kids on a tight budget, you don't have time to research food ethics. You just need dinner on the table. Wendy's knows this, and it's exactly why their menu is designed to feel generous. Dollar deals, combo offers, free refills, big portions. It's not just food, it's a moment of relief. Then there's the nostalgia. For millions of Americans, Wendy's is tied to childhood road trips, after-school snacks, or late-night hangouts. The smell of spicy nuggets or a Frosty brings back memories, and those memories are powerful. Marketing experts call it emotional anchoring, and Wendy's has mastered it. The brand becomes a feeling, not a choice. And don't forget the illusion of freshness. Compared to competitors, Wendy's sounds more honest, never frozen, real ingredients, made to order. Those words create trust, even when the facts suggest otherwise. It's a psychological sleight of hand that turns questionable meals into something that feels clean. But perhaps the real reason people keep eating at Wendy's is because the system is built for them to keep coming back. High sodium, sugar, and fat levels trigger the brain's reward center. Addictive taste profiles, emotional branding, and economic convenience combine to create a cycle that's hard to break. And while millions keep returning through the drive-thru, few realize how deep the manipulation runs, because once you see through it, the food doesn't taste quite the same. But before we wrap up, it's time for a moment of truth and a message that could change how you see fast food forever. Let's talk about what you can do and what you deserve to know. If you've made it this far, you already know there's a lot Wendy's isn't telling you. And if that surprised you or even made you look at your next combo a little differently, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps more than you know. Every single click tells the algorithm that the truth matters, that pulling back the curtain is worth it. Have a story of your own? Maybe you worked there. Maybe you saw something that didn't sit right. Drop it in the comments. We read everything, and your voice might be the one that helps someone else think twice. This isn't about canceling fast food. It's about being informed. It's about making real choices with real information. And the more people who know what's really happening behind that red and white counter, the harder it becomes for corporations to hide. So if you're tired of being sold half-truths for $5.99, let's keep the pressure on. Subscribe, comment, share, because this story isn't over, not by a long shot. So what's the takeaway? It's simple, but uncomfortable. Wendy's isn't just a fast food chain with catchy slogans and clever tweets. It's a carefully constructed illusion, one that hides the real cost of convenience behind a smiling mascot and a promise of fresh. From questionable meat sourcing to mistreated workers, from legal scandals to chemical-laced sauces, what's wrapped in that paper bag is far more than a burger. It's a system built on cutting corners and counting on you not to look too closely. And yet, millions do, every day, because the system is designed that way: familiar, affordable, forgettable. But now that you've seen what's behind the tray, you don't have to settle for the surface story. You can choose to ask questions, to notice, to demand better. Wendy's might hope you'll forget everything you saw here today, but maybe you won't. Maybe next time you walk through those doors or open that drive-thru window, you'll remember what's been left off the menu. And maybe, just maybe, that awareness is the first step toward real change. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay informed, and remember, not everything that smells good is clean.